Hi, Democrats. Today is Monday, May 8th, and it's time for the Chair's Daily Live. Happy Monday. Alrighty, so it's Monday. So I have to give you an update on gun violence. And I'm not going to try to address everything that happened this weekend because I only have 15 minutes. But I am going to talk about what happened in Allen, Texas. And I'm going to talk about it because I live in Oklahoma. And I've been to that outlet mall, and I think a lot of folks from Oklahoma have. And so it's, again, one of those things that hits really close to home. So it was a gunman that they've found all kinds of white supremacist posts and updates and social media stuff. He went through basic training for the Army. He wanted to be in the Army. He didn't make it through. He was discharged from the Army. This is news. I haven't read all the stuff, but he was discharged from the Army due to mental health. So I have to say all of that before I talk about the actual victims here. There were 8 people murdered, and the gunman was shot. And then there were 7 additional folks injured. And the reports are that he just kind of opened fire. That he just opened fire and shot folks who were just trying to save a little money, just trying to enjoy the weather, just trying to mind their own business and live their lives. So when the school shooting happened in Nashville, the shooter was allegedly a member of the LGBTQ community. And the right was all out there saying that it was because that person was transgender, and that's why this happened. And they called it the transgender massacre and blah, 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 trans this. And the shooting happened because the shooter in the Allen, Texas shooting was a white supremacist. Crickets. What are we talking about? We're talking about what kind of gun it was, and the news is not reporting what kind of gun it was. We're talking about gun-free zones. We're talking about everything but the proliferation of guns and the refusal of the right to have real, meaningful conversations about common sense gun laws. And it's all the distraction. It's the same thing that happened in Nashville. If you'll recall, there was a shooting in Nashville where 3 elementary school students and 3 folks who worked at the school were shot down by a gunman who came in and shot them down. That kind of got buried because we started talking about the expulsion of the members of the legislature. We started talking about transgender. We started talking about all these things, and it took the focus off the fact that all of that was a result of an elementary school mass shooting. And that's what happens every time. There's a mass shooting, and we're talking about white supremacy, which I'm going to talk about a little bit. We're talking about white supremacy. We're talking about whether the media is calling the weapons the right name, and we're talking about gun-free zones. Let's focus. There were 9 lives lost. There were 7 other folks who were injured. There were 9 lives lost. Let's not let this conversation deteriorate and start talking about white supremacy. White supremacy is real, and it is dangerous, and it probably had a play here. But let's not talk about that. Let's talk about there were 9 lives lost. Let's talk about the fact that there was a first responder who was Johnny on the spot, who was there with real quickness, real swiftness that everyone is lauding. Everybody is excited about and grateful for how quickly the first responder got there. Did I mention the fact that there were 9 lives lost? There were 8 lives lost before the first responder got there. And so even though the first responder was timely and apparently accurate, there were still 8 lives lost and 7 other folks who were injured before the first responder got there. It's so incredibly annoying. Let's not lose focus. The focus is we need to have common sense conversations about common sense gun laws. That's the conversation we need to be having. Don't let them take it and start talking about why were people shopping. It's the wrong kind of gun. Congressman Keith Self, who is a congressman who serves North Texas, said that he's going to champion a bill that says that to be in public, everyone has to carry a firearm. Y'all, last time I went to the firing range, all of my shots were tight and in the body. That's not something I want to do. Not something I want to do. Not something I want to be forced to do. I do not want to carry a firearm, and I do not want to be forced to carry a firearm. How did we get here where we're having a conversation about arming everyone so that everyone can feel safe? Arming everyone so people will be afraid to shoot. First of all, I don't want to be forced to carry a firearm if I don't want to. This shouldn't even be a conversation. Secondly, not everybody's a good shot. Thirdly, what the heck? Everybody should be required. Okay. And fourthly, have you priced firearms lately? They are not inexpensive. We have a crisis of folks experiencing homelessness right now. We have a crisis of folks not being able to make a living with just one job. Now we're going to put the extra burden that they're going to have to buy and carry a firearm and the ammunition and the whole family. What are we doing? What kind of conversations are we having? The conversation needs to be, how do we reasonably, using common sense, address the crisis of mass shootings in the United States? And we're always talking about mass shootings. And that's, for the purpose of this conversation, shootings that involve four folks being wounded that don't include the shooter. So what about the husband who kills his wife? What about the neighbor who kills the neighbor? What about those single shot instances? That's still happening. That's still happening. And here's an interesting fact that I cannot let go. More folks die from suicide with a firearm than homicide. So making sure that there are more guns available does not make us always safe, does not make us safe. All gun instances don't just happen in the mall, at the grocery store, at the doctor's office, at a school, at a carnival. Now, sometimes gun violence happens at home. Sometimes gun violence is self-inflicted. Do we not care about those folks? Because we pretend that we do, because we say it's about mental health. This gunman was discharged from the Army because of mental health. And if we really think that it's mental health, where is the legislation meant to address it? No, it is a distraction technique. It is a distraction technique, and we can't fall for the okie doke. Today, May 8th, is the 128th day of 2023. It's the 128th day of 2023. And we've had 199 mass shootings that have been recorded. More shootings than days. So it's not about one every day. More shooting than days. We have got to focus. We have got to do work. So today I was prepared to talk about reorganization, about how the Oklahoma Democratic Party is working its way through our reorganization process. We've had precinct elections, we've had county elections, and in most of our districts, we've had district elections. The next step is our state convention, which is on June 3rd and 4th in Tulsa, Oklahoma at the Tulsa Convention Center. Our evening gala will be, our keynote speaker at our evening gala is former Congressman from Texas, Beto O'Rourke. Very excited about that. And our keynote at convention is chair of the Minnesota DFL and vice chair of the DNC. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it. But let me swing back and tell you why I'm mentioning it. This weekend, the Oklahoma GOP had their state convention. They're a month ahead of us. They had their state convention and they elected a new chair. I'm not going to say his name because he doesn't deserve it. But let me tell you, he's a wackadoo senator from South Broken Arrow who's about to term out and who got embarrassed by Jon Stewart. He is way out there and extreme. He is very extreme, and he chases the camera and attention. So much so that he would go on Jon Stewart ill-prepared, be embarrassed, and then tweet about it and brag about it. That's who the Oklahoma Republican Party elected this weekend. That's who we need to focus that's why we need to focus in the Oklahoma Democratic Party. They're over there dealing in crazy. They're over there dealing in extreme. But they're united in their extremity. They have bills they have policy or platform issues that contradict what they're doing at the Capitol. They have super extreme things. They're Bible verses in their platform. And it shows you what they're planning. They're planning on putting 10 commandments everywhere they can. They're planning on putting guns everywhere they can. They're planning on ignoring federal laws in favor of state laws. It's all in their platform. That's what we have to fight against. We have to unite against the extremity that's coming from the other side. Now, it's more of them, so they could be louder, but we are right, so we should be louder. We are for defending our fellow man, whether they look and pray and love like us or not, but that everyone deserves a right to the American dream. Access to economic opportunity, one job, should be able to keep a roof over your head and your belly fed. No matter what your zip code is, you should be able to afford to go to the doctor without fear of financial ruin. And a well-funded public education. Well-funded public education. That's what we believe in. We are right. And I'm sure that they think they're right, even though it's only for the people who are exactly like them. Because what I said was, whatever your zip code, wherever you live, because we are the party of inclusion. I'm not going to shy away from DEI. I am not afraid of the alphabet like they seem to be. They're fighting and whining about LGBTQIA2S plus community. They're fighting and whining about DEI, and they're fighting and whining and making up facts about CRT. They are afraid of the alphabet, and they're afraid of Big Bird. That's what's going on that side. We are fighting for the rights of our fellow man. But we need your help. We need you to join us. And when I say join us, I am begging you to join us, to collaborate, to cooperate, to work together to fight against the extreme. So Tulsa County, Wagner County, parts of Roger and Creek, you guys are having your convention, your CD1 convention this Saturday, and that's the last of the lead-up conventions to the state convention. If you live in that area, go to your convention on Saturday at the Pipeliners Union Hall. Go and participate and be ready to participate in June. We have work to do. The enemy is defined, and he's not in our tent. We have work to do. We need to focus, and I hope that you'll join us. You guys have a wonderful evening, and I'll be back here tomorrow at 4:15.